Welcome to the Sustaining Creativity Podcast. I'm your host, Mari Riesberg. Over the past several years, I've combined my degrees in acting and somatic psychology to share my sustaining creativity techniques with performers. And now I've decided to share it with a bigger audience that includes you. I believe we are all creative, and this podcast is all about that. I'll be interviewing people from all backgrounds, ages, and creativity experiences to share just how creative we all are. Today, I'll be chatting with Lea Sakran, voiceover actor and author. Please enjoy Lea Sakran. Welcome to the Sustaining Creativity Podcast. Today I am here with Lea Sakran, voiceover actor, author, and wearer of many other hats. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
I am so glad that you are here with me today to talk about creativity and all of the creative endeavors and adventures that you have been on. But before we get there, why don't you take a couple of moments and let our listeners know a little bit more about who you are and what you do?
Right, absolutely. I'm thrilled. Okay, well, I think that being creative is something so natural, and it's a desire of every human being. And since my childhood, creativity or fantasizing stories, also, playing with my Barbies, it was something so natural. And
Yeah.
it was not like, now I'm going to be creative. It was um, how I'm looking at life and how I participate in life and how I deal with questions, also trying to give myself answers through,
Mhm.
creativity, through the game also children do.
Yeah.
So I was very lucky. Also, I lived in Switzerland. Later on, we moved to the States, to San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to the famous Haight-Ashbury Street, which was
Mm-hmm.
very famous in 68, flower power kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I went to urban school there, which
Mm.
was an art school.
Mm-hmm.
And there I took my first breath also in theater with
Mm.
a quite known, he was not known then, George Coates. He
Mm-hmm.
was like a theater director, and he actually wanted to push me also into the theater, but I studied at the time also at the conservatory piano,
Mm-hmm.
and I actually wanted to become a pianist.
Mm.
So
Okay.
I played the competitions and all the stress and everything, where you actually need to be emotionally quite strong.
Yeah.
No, yeah,
Yeah.
and I think, yeah. So I wasn't interested in theater at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sadly, because I had also auditions I could have taken, like with 14 and so.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, the journey continued, and I then later on, when I really thought about the whole music career, piano, which is very tough, I had a Japanese piano teacher, and I learned a lot with her, very much, but she always had this pencil, and if I made a mistake, she would hit my fingers. I remember.
Oh
But
my goodness.
yeah, she was a brilliant teacher. But I think I wasn't emotionally ready
Mm.
for all of this.
Yeah.
And yeah, I wasn't emotionally ready
Mm.
for the density of this discipline.
Mm-hmm.
But later on, then I went to the theater, and
Mm.
there really, I went to École Jacques Lecoq in Paris,
Mm-hmm.
and I was at Philippe Gaulier
Mm.
in London,
Yeah.
right? And then I studied dance at the Labon Center. Now it's called Trinity College of Music and Dance, I think,
Mm-hmm.
London, right?
Yeah.
Trinity Conservatory of Music and Dance, I think it's called, right? I hope I'm saying it correctly. Please excuse me if I don't. But at the time, it was the Laban Center, so maybe
Yeah.
stick with that. And yeah, then I actually had, in a very nice way, opportunities just came to me. I worked in state houses at the theater. I worked
Mm.
in the scene. I also had the possibility to work at the opera in
Mm.
a great production a couple of years ago.
Nice.
Yeah, and then I worked for a long time as a scriptwriter for
Mm.
an agency. I think I did over 100 uh, films, image films, like promotional videos.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And I also casted voices. So I
Mm.
think the root of being a voice actor, a voice
Hmm.
artist, it has always been there. I was maybe just not aware of it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, such a like rich history of
Thank
creative
you.
arts and performance and now you also have a book that's out or coming out. If you want to share a little bit about that process of kind of transitioning into being an author as well.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I've for since I'm a little child, I've always written.
Mm.
I wrote journals, I wrote stories.
Hmm.
And actually, just I just want to mention this as a side. I worked also for some time in counseling, or, you
Mm.
know, just
Yeah.
up the side, where I counsel also
Hmm.
parents, teachers, kids.
Yeah.
And I was in a job where I had the feeling I wasn't heard.
Mm. Hmm.
And it was quite scary.
Yeah.
And there, I saw an ad that they actually were looking for a voiceover
Mm.
in a library for
Mm-hmm.
people with visual impairment.
Mm-hmm.
And that actually gave me the idea, oh wow, I could actually, read this because I love to do things with the voice.
Mm-hmm.
And this was about 3 years ago. And then I got the idea to be a voiceover. And then I had the idea, I thought, okay, I'm going to write a book to
Yeah.
try my voiceover. And I found straight away a publisher who loved, it's like you have a lot of experience, you do a lot in life, all
Mm-hmm.
around writing, and then it's not like something new. It's like
Mm-hmm.
the roots are here. And when you're ready to open the door, everyone's here already, I guess. So then
Yeah.
I found the publisher straight away, and which is brilliant. And the book Gusta and Gusto,
Mm.
um, it is also actually about what you imagine, you create. It's about how
Oh.
you actually can create scenarios in your life.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it's very exciting. And then to have the that you get to also do the audio book for it. That's exciting
Mm-hmm.
as
Mm-hmm.
well. I'm so
Mm-hmm.
curious when you think about creativity, and you mentioned a little bit of this, but what does it mean to you to be creative?
Okay, that's a really brilliant question. Um, we are bound in our thinking methods,
Hmm.
and I think creativity um, means to go beyond your thoughts, maybe.
Yeah.
Yesterday, I had an interesting talk with a friend of mine who said, I have thoughts, or I have the feeling I can't succeed in something, and then out of the blue, kind of, I thought, well, maybe those are not your thoughts.
Mm. Hmm.
Maybe those are kind of thoughts you received, um, and you're just very loyal and listen to thoughts other people like put into your brain, but
Yeah.
maybe they're not even your thoughts. And talking about creativity, I think it has to do also with the discipline to
Mm.
decide which strand of thoughts you follow and which of your thoughts you believe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
That we have choice. That's a new
we have
concept for
choices.
people.
Yes,
Yes. Yeah.
I think that's a key word. If you ask me, can we talk about creativity? I could say we can choose. I think that's so brilliant what you just said.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
The choice is so, it's so important. I think sometimes we forget that creativity is a skill and a choice to engage, to participate
hmm
in small ways, big ways, in everyday life, in performance, etc. Yeah.
Because, yeah, as you say, I don't think, if it's big or if it's small, it
Mhm.
is actually uh, an attitude
Yeah,
you also have towards yourself.
right.
Um, I don't know if this sounds arrogant. I really don't know. I'm just saying it out of the blue,
Yeah,
okay? But I mean, creating a film, of course, it's a city. Creating a podcast, there's so much work to it, of course.
yeah,
But baking a cake, yeah,
yep.
something very small.
Hmm.
But the way you do it
Hmm.
with the intention, with the joy,
Yes.
maybe the difference is the cake is faster to bake than the podcast to create. Wow, that's
Maybe.
maybe.
I I think there's that distinction between kind of performative creativity and everyday creativity. I
Oh,
look
that's
at
good.
getting dressed as a creative expression or a creative
hmm
experience, and that you do that every day, or how you
Yeah.
put food on a plate versus how you create, in air quotes, a podcast or a film or a production or a dance piece or something of that you might be sharing with other people in a bigger way than how I get dressed is more for me than for anyone else.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. But if I do bigger things, I do it for myself.
Oh yeah.
So
I
I
mean,
do it for someone else. I do it for an audience. But the attitude of how I work,
yeah.
the to be, to be precise,
Hmm.
to have the transitions, which we also find in dance, to have the chronology, to have the steps in the right moment.
Yeah.
I think this is maybe something where we connect our inner awareness,
Hmm.
transporting it to an outer message.
Mm. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, yeah. We found
Yeah,
something new again.
we did. We're creating
We are
right
creating.
here, right now. Yeah. Now, I think oftentimes creators or people who are traveling the world of creativity can find they bump up against challenges or issues that they weren't expecting. And kind of like what you were saying with your piano, that emotional dexterity or emotional experience, you weren't ready for what piano performance called for at 14.
The competition also was a
Yeah, the
big issue.
competitive piece. So
Yep.
I'm curious how you have navigated some of these pieces that inherently come with that more performative piece of rejection or blocks or, those things that people in the creative arts talk about.
Oh, do they?
At least in my world, they
I
do.
know, of course, of course. Um, there's some days I get up at 5, I go to the gym,
Uh-huh.
I do my things, I drink 2 liters of water, you know,
Yeah.
and then there are sometimes these to keep up this discipline.
Mm. Hmm.
It's sometimes it's more challenging and sometimes it's less challenging.
Mhm.
And I think there's this, I read recently something about self-partnering, and I thought
Mm,
that was a great terminology.
yeah.
And I thought, okay, I'm going to self-partner now too. Because actually, you are your friend, you're your own friend.
Yeah.
And sometimes you kind of push through these boundaries
Mm.
and just do it. I mean, if I stand up in the morning at 5 o'clock, I
Hmm.
don't even have the time to think about if I want to go to the gym or not, because
Mm.
I'm actually just, get up directly to the car into the gym. Don't let any thoughts come between me and the gym.
That routine that you
That's routine,
yeah.
just do it. But if I start thinking, or am I in the mood for this? I'm
Mm.
actually, or if I think, no, this is not distraction, this is just additional information, one really needs to be careful not to cheat yourself, you
Mm.
know,
Hmm.
to, I think it's very helpful if one can find a way to, if you decide something,
Hmm.
turn off your phone,
Mm.
turn off your email,
Yeah.
and don't tell yourself, I need to keep my email and my phone on in case there's an emergency. You know, I, I,
Hmm.
I I mean, everyone should do as they wish. I'm not
Sure.
trying to give any, I don't want to be sued for that. What I
Right, the one time. But yes.
she said no, but to be aware of possible distractions, it
Mm.
also has to do with respect of your own creativity you have.
I love that. Yes, and absolutely agree that we were talking before we started recording about the communication. So not only is that communication of how you're communicating with yourself really important, is what I'm hearing you say, but
Yeah.
also how you're communicating or limiting distractions from communicating with you.
Yeah. I mean, there are also so many courses, also, for example, in every field.
Yeah.
And I think it's great if there possibility actually to discover your potential, to widen your possibilities.
Hmm.
But also I think it can be if you always you just need to get into that car. Just do it, you
Yeah,
know, you know,
sure.
because you're never ready and
Mm.
you're always ready.
Yep.
And that's development, I would say.
Hmm.
Because I mean, if I listen to voiceovers I did, I don't know, 2 years ago,
Hmm.
and I thought, wow, I'm I'm so brilliant.
Good to have
And
that
I listen
confidence.
to them and I still think, wow, it was really great how I got into that. But I see my personal development
Mm, hmm.
and I'm part of my own story.
Yeah.
I've got, you're often one is within a story of maybe other people. I think maybe that's also an important aspect to
Mm,
be aware,
hmm.
where is my story? Where are my thoughts?
Hmm.
And how am I going to create my my story and to compare myself with myself on my pathway without,
Hmm.
not judging myself or criticizing myself or I want to empower myself.
Hmm.
I want to be my own best friend.
Yeah. Yeah. And it sounds like not only best friend, but also cheerleader, because you
Yeah,
do a lot of that, is what I'm hearing you say.
it's important.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so curious in what oftentimes can feel like a very solo career.
Mhm.
How does your community spark or inspire your creativity?
Currently I'm working on the German version of Gusta and Gusto,
Yeah.
and the voiceover. Wow. I mean, he has I love his voice.
Mm,
And this, for example, his knowledge, the way, it's a great inspiration for me. I think
mhm,
something inspiring is for me to see how brilliant someone is.
mhm.
This can be an inspiration for me.
Yeah.
Um, to talk together and to feel that the other person actually wants to hear what I say, and I can and shares his or
Mm,
her thoughts with me
mhm.
without, waiting until the other, like listening, not waiting until I'm finished to give them the,
Sure, right.
you know what I mean?
Yeah. The
But
polite version.
I think that's an inspiration.
Mm, mhm,
Communicate together in a way where you're really open and interested with the other human being. So
mm.
brilliancy, great communication is an inspiration. I don't know if that's true what I'm saying, but there are these moments where we're kind of blocked, maybe, or we
Yeah.
just don't feel. Maybe even this could be an inspiration by
Mhm.
being aware of it,
Yeah.
kind of saying, oh, now it's coming again, the blockage. I'm going to straight away jump over the fence, kind of thing.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. I do want to, what you were saying kind of before of being inspired by someone else's brilliance, or you, again, before we started recording, we're talking about in your book the connection and connecting hearts and connecting generations. And I'm curious if kind of witnessing someone else's brilliance is also about that heart connection and generation connection too.
Yeah, I mean, the second book, I have my second book
Oh,
now.
excellent. Yes.
And there, my daughter and me, we actually, from different generations, we talk about the stories.
Mm-hmm.
And we really have different thoughts to certain, like you get lost in the woods, or you don't know how to. One of the stories is, they play hide and seek, and she gets lost in the woods. Or no, better story. Um, the Gusta, the rhino lady, she
Mm-hmm.
has some crisis with Gusto, her rhino
Mm-hmm.
friend or husband. You never know exactly if they're friends or what they are.
Yeah.
And then she kind of thinks, you know what, I'm just need I don't need to spend time with you, because he needs some time for himself.
Mm.
And he doesn't want, she offers to bake a cake, but he doesn't want a cake.
Mm.
She offers to bake 2 cakes, 3 cakes. He doesn't want that. So, at some point, she's not going to
Mhm.
offer to bake 10 cakes. She goes to a hippo workshop.
Oh.
And the problem is, hippos, they don't have a horn. It's not a
Mm-hmm.
problem, actually, but they see her differently.
Oh,
And they
yeah.
tell her, with your horn, you're never going to get happy in life, because
Oh.
no one from us has a horn. We're
Mm-hmm.
all hippos.
Hmm.
And there it's actually to stand up for your uniqueness,
Mm-hmm.
own brilliance,
Oh, yeah.
which is can be a process which is not only easy,
Mm-hmm.
because she was ready to operate her horn,
Right.
to
Yeah.
get rid of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so I think, talking about brilliance,
Mm-hmm.
it is not always everything like sparkly.
Sure.
I The process, it's always also a process and questions again to actually nourish your
Mm.
brilliance. I think brilliance needs
Mm-hmm.
nourishment
Yeah.
also.
Absolutely.
But I'm not sure if I answered your question. Maybe I didn't.
I
Can you?
maybe in a roundabout way. I think, yeah, I was just curious from what you were saying about that the heart connection that you speak about in the book and the brilliance of recognizing someone else's brilliance, I think can create a heart connection for us.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, talking about the stories with my daughter,
Yeah.
it gives a own dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
And we see that, parents and I mean, she's 22, 23 soon.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it is it it is great to connect thoughts
Yeah.
to develop actually through thoughts we connect to get a new idea together. It's
Right.
enriching,
Mm-hmm.
I would
Nice.
say. So yeah, there is a brilliance,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely, to listen to stories, to be in the exchange of thoughts. It's brilliant to connect.
Yes, I agree. These connecting moments on podcast interviews are some of my favorites where I get to connect with other people and their experiences. I'm curious with the number of people that you come across. I imagine there are people who do not believe that they are creative, that you know, and how would you encourage these individuals to find creativity in their life?
I just recently had a talk with a woman. She would love to write a book, and she came to me and she asked me if we could, start this project together.
Mhm.
So this is a concrete example, and she said, but she doesn't have a clue how she should start. I mean, she told me she sat there with the white paper. She didn't know where to begin, and I said, well, I couldn't do that neither. Put that paper away.
Uh-huh.
I think we have certain fixed. I gave for 7 years also courses in creative writing.
Mm-hmm.
And it was never about, let's take a pen and a piece of paper and let's be creative, because you will, or many people will just be blocked.
Right.
I think creativity, maybe also from dance, you give a
Mm-hmm.
movement and then you build upon it, you develop
Mm-hmm.
it.
Yeah.
Um, and I think, if you ask a question like, what's, you can even, ask a banal question. Would you like to color your hair blue? And you get something going, and the other person says, yeah, of course. And you say, great. Well, when did you have this idea? Can you invent, and
Mm-hmm.
actually try to, or no, never. Why not? Would you like
Yeah.
green? And then you get into kind of a game. I think creativity has a lot to do with improvisation also at the
Mm.
start, I would
Yeah.
say. At a
Yeah.
certain level, when you really work on a project, at a certain point, you're at the other, work at another stage where you need to polish up things,
Mm-hmm.
or, but in the beginning, creativity, it has to do with exploring.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and I would say, and just take anything, if it's even a pen in your hand, tell me, do you like this color? It's violet.
Mhm.
Does it remind you maybe of a unicorn? Or,
Yeah.
just to, yeah. And not to, just to say anything which comes to your mind,
Mm-hmm.
and not having this attitude, um, now creativity will start by doing step
Right.
1, 2, and 3.
Right. Yeah. Allowing the freedom of
Yeah,
play and exploration and curiosity and
yeah,
imagination to show up.
yeah. Or even to say, I don't have a clue how to be creative. Just write that down. And I
Yeah.
don't have this clue because
Right.
because I don't know, I need to do some cooking, or
Hmm.
I, say anything,
Yeah.
and then slowly something will happen,
Hmm.
and then you actually come into a game, or a certain humor can happen.
I love these
Nail it
reminders.
down, get your hammer.
Yes, I love the reminders and the permission to play and have fun with it and allow humor to show up.
Yeah,
And even within the I don't think I'm creative
yeah.
moment, it's
I mean, I
okay.
imagine this would be actually quite humorous. I just had the idea now.
Hmm.
But it's also creative. If you don't know how to be creative, maybe, an idea, but it's really an absurd idea. Maybe some people have the feeling, okay, everywhere, there are those sentences of belief, I'm
Yeah.
beautiful or whatever. And if you would, like, in your house, you put all stickers up, creativity means, and then you're surrounded by these rules, I think you would suffocate. But maybe there are people it really helps them.
Maybe it would
Creativity means
inspire
let
you. Yeah.
go. So,
Yeah.
you just stare at the thing telling you to let go, and you don't know where to look anymore. Um,
But I love the playfulness and all of
yeah,
that. It's fantastic. I am sure we could talk for many, many hours
yeah,
about
yeah.
this. I just have one last question. What does it feel like in your body to be creative?
Oh, wow. In my body to feel creative. I mean, in dance, we always had you feel the movement
Hmm.
everywhere till your fingertips. I mean, I don't need,
Hmm.
you coming from the field.
Yeah.
Um, Creativity in my body, it also means to have a certain lightness, I would say,
Mm.
at the
Hmm.
top of my head.
Mm.
Maybe also working with the different dynamics, weight,
Yeah.
lightness,
Mm.
um, the dynamic of movement,
Hmm.
of, free flow, bound flow, talking about
Hmm.
Laban.
Hmm.
But I don't know, maybe I would love to ask you, but you need to
Yeah.
tell me if I'm
No,
allowed to
ask
ask.
away. It's fine.
But I don't know if one does this consciously, because in dance there is also the freedom that things can happen and you actually look what happened.
Yeah.
I would say, I don't know if you agree with me, or if
Yeah. I think for
you're somehow an
myself,
observer.
there's that witness
Yeah.
that you're in in process and observing the process simultaneously.
Yeah, it's like this implosion, explosion in the
Yeah.
same time, being like this bridge connecting
Yeah.
the outside to the inside.
Mm. Hmm.
Um, but maybe having, maybe being able to decide for your body what feeling you want to have. But I don't know, maybe this comes from the mind. Anyhow, mind and body are connected.
This is true. Yeah. And I think everyone's experience of what it feels like to be creative is unique to them. So what it is for
Cre-
you is
Mhm.
different for me.
Creativity in your body, what it means. I would love to, I don't
Yeah,
know if you could give me an idea
sure. For
what it feels.
me, it means, or what it feels like in my body is total freedom.
Mm-hmm.
That it could be, there's limitless options. And it feels also very grounded and very solid and very secure to be creative for me.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah.
Ooh.
Well, I have so loved chatting with you. If people want to learn more about your work, your books, how could they go about doing that?
I have a homepage, leasakran.com.
Hmm.
And yeah, I've, Instagram, how everyone has. It's
Yes.
also Lea Sakran. Let me just check one more time. Yeah, it's Lea Sakran. But so, yeah, Lea Sakran on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn.
Great.
And yeah, I'm going to I don't post too much. I know I should post more. Social media is very important.
It's
But currently,
okay.
yeah, I'm working on a project also on some poems.
Oh,
And
wonderful.
sometimes, yeah, sometimes for me it's just overwhelming, the whole social media. And then sometimes I just need to focus on
Hmm.
my work,
Yeah.
what we talked in the beginning. Otherwise, I'm just distracted too much.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, I will put links to all of your social media
Oh,
and
great.
website in show notes so people have easy access. And
Oh,
thank you
great.
so much
Thank
for
you
taking the
so
time.
much.
I have thoroughly enjoyed this.
Me too. Very much. Very much.
Thanks for listening to the Sustaining Creativity Podcast. We'd love to keep in touch, so follow us on Facebook and Instagram. We are at Sustaining Creativity. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Tag your friends and family so they can listen too. We love to hear from you, so leave your reviews, comments, and questions. Check out our website, sustainingcreativity.com, for upcoming offerings and creativity coaching. Tune in Tuesdays for our next episode. And remember, with creativity, anything's possible.